it's an interesting experience because the very reason why I came into commercial agriculture 8 years ago was not just to venture into it for lack of what to do, but because I felt compelled in my heart that there is a gap in food production, and that gap needs to be filled by people. And for me, I'm pursuing it as my purpose, passionately pursuing it. So, irrespective of all the challenges and all the things that would make one discouraged, I rather choose to be encouraged and keep pushing. However, the experiences are not palatable and they're not as sweet as it should be. So most times when you see me smile, you see me go to the farm, do my work, doesn't mean the challenges are not enormous. However, I approach it differently. That's why it seems as if nothing is happening that is discouraging me or stuff like that.
So give us an understanding of this this attack. I understand that we have had this discussion on radio before.
Yeah.
When under the last administration, and it was really terrible, the experience that you had at the time. Does it mean that even the law that was enacted under Ugwai did not even, they don't even help matter?
Sincerely speaking, there are several laws in our nation that should come to play when it has to do with the challenges of farmers and headers. And of course, whenever I speak about farmer header issues, I don't want to talk about it as personal pain. I only use my personal experience to draw analysis. So I like to speak for farmers across Nigeria, not just around here. So even in our nation, there are laws that should protect farmers. However, Enugu State government went further to pass into law, the bill prohibiting open grazing. But sincerely speaking, it has not helped matters all the while. Rather, it has gotten worse. It's getting worse by the day. Look at what's happening not just in our Enugu State, for instance, across Nigeria. What happened in Benue recently, and what happened in Jos, it's better that it is getting really, really out of hand. And that should also call for worry for any citizen who wishes to see Nigeria develop and become self-sufficient, especially in terms of food production. Now, bringing it down home to Enugu State, my personal experiences and the experiences of farmers around Abugu axis and the Ziago axis where I own my farms, and also around the Uzo1, the local government area, the issues of area, which we all know it's not also a palatable one. I have personally lost so much on a yearly basis. I've lost so much to headers, in different aspects. They've grazed in my farm severally, almost every year in, year out. We have issues of grazing in my farm, and we've also had issues of setting my farm ablaze. Not just my farm, even the farms of others. But last year, November, December precisely, around early December, they became more fierce in the Abugu axis. While we were harvesting, they are coming to graze while we are inside the farm harvesting. Every effort to make them leave the location proved abortive. We approach them gently, we approach them calmly, we feed them with them, say, please leave this area. When we finish harvesting and evacuate our produce, you can come in and graze. But right now, while we're still harvesting, we can't be harvesting and you are grazing at the same time. It became an issue. We kept at it until we had to confront them. Confronting them was not, to fight them, just to chase them away from the farm location. And they became bold. They left and came back. They regrouped and came back, more in number and more confrontational this matter. This matter, we are coming after them. They are coming after us. They brought out their knives and their machetes and their weapons. And of course, some of my workers they are mostly male. They were all angry. Why would they even confront us in our own place and all of that. So they also went after them.
Hmm.
By the time we had that confrontation, their cattle, ran helter-skelter everywhere. We managed to get one of them, caught one of them red-handed. And while trying to do that, one of my staff got injured. Then one of my lady staff also, who was also in another family to be far away from where this was happening, they went after that one there and stabbed her.
Wow.
As God may have it, she used her hand to defend it. The dagger pierced into her palm.
Oh my God.
So it became serious for us. And we were able to get that one of them, who was almost like their ringleader. And they also got one of the cows. We immediately moved the young man we caught to the police. So my workers wanted to descend on him. I said, no, let's not take laws into our hands. And we moved him to the police station, hoping that this will bring about, a proper investigation and proper handling of the matter. While this was happening, I was also recording the activities, on my phone. While the whole thing was happening, I had the videos of what was happening as evidences of what happened in the farm. And lo and behold, when we got to the police, we handed over the young man to the police. The police came back that evening to use their vehicle to move the cow that we caught to the police station as also part of the exhibit and evidence. Only for me to realize that the police is mostly interested in, what they make out of this whole thing. So their interest is how much will you now pay to bail your cow, because the police will not keep the cow for so long. So of course the cow got bailed almost immediately. Then the next thing they are interested in was not to investigate this issue. We asked them, since we got one of them, please, from this person we can get the rest of the
Other
guys
people
that came. To attack us in the farm. That's one. If you can't get them, you can get the owners of these cattle, so that we can know. I want to know those who have issues, those who interface, so that we can resolve this very well.
Yeah.
Police was interested in granting bail to the young man who we already had, at their custody.
Wow.
They are only interested in how much will the people that we are stabbed be paid for compensation. We said people's life was attempted. And you're asking how much are we going to give to you for the dagger injury and for all of that, so we can grant this guy bail. I got so few. I said, wow, is this how we get to resolve this? When I pressed further and I became a little bit insistent that this matter must be brought, that the law must take its course, police must investigate this matter, bring all those guys on board, bring the owners of the cattle on board, let's get to the root of this. Surprisingly, the IPO on one of the occasions said before me, before the DPO, and before every other party that were involved, that there was no evidence that we had issues with the Fulani in the farm.
Wow.
That got me also.
Hold on. When this particular incident, was it just last year it happened?
December 2024, around between 4th and 6th of December 2024. I can't remember the exact date number, 24th or 6th of December 2024.
Just last year?
It happened. Yes, about the police station precisely. Is the police where I'm talking about. And that was how that matter ended. I tell you the truth, the matter ended there.
But they said there's no evidence. Is it that they didn't see the stabbings, or they didn't?
I asked that question. When he said there was no evidence that I asked him, so there was no evidence that somebody was stabbed? People that we came to the police with, even the DPO saw them? Or there was no evidence that they came to our farm to graze? Or there was no evidence that they grazed in our farm? So what evidence are you looking out for? Then he started saying that it's true that people are stabbed, but there was no evidence. It was it's a surprising thing. And we pushed until we were able to get the government to get involved, and through the help of the SA to the governor on security, they had to set up a committee in that area to start looking into Fulani farmers' issues. And that has not also solve the problem, because throughout last year, even early this year, everybody who has cassava in this area is complaining every now and then, because they keep on grazing their cassava farms, grazing everything that is grazable in the farms. So it's an issue that has defiled every peaceful approach for us as farmers, and taking laws into our hands also is not also what we also want to advocate for. But however, I think government needs to do something to see to it that lives and properties of farmers are protected from this brutal and wicked headers, moving around as cattle rearers when they are not just cattle rearers, but they are terrorists terrorizing our people.
Wow, this is terrible, really. So where are we now with the government? Like you mentioned that the state government formed a committee. What is that committee doing right now?
Sincerely speaking, initially the committee looked into some of the people then, that was in December, whose farmlands were grazed, who had issues with their farms and the cattle. I know one precisely who got compensated, even though the compensation was not up to what he lost. By the time they came to me, I told them mine had been overtaken by event. I am not doing it because I want them to compensate me. They cannot pay for my energy. They cannot pay for the sacrifice. They cannot pay for the emotion. They can't pay me for the losses. But some of the small scale farmers who are around, you can compensate them. Mine is don't even come close to my farm. I know how much I invest in my production, so I know somebody was compensated. A few others also got some little compensation. Compensation is not as if they are giving something what they lost. They're just trying to see how much they can, pacify these people. But I also realized that these people have a terrible mindset. As soon as they pay you, that's what they call compensation. For them, they believe they have paid you for your farm. So the next moment they move their cattle in and keep grazing.
Are you serious?
Oh yes, and when you confront them, they say they have paid. So when you hear and the funny person said we have paid them, they have paid you compensation, so they now have right to graze. That's what they mean.
Wow.
So you realize that the compensation they paid was not enough punishment for them not to keep grazing. So they keep grazing, and they are willing to pay meager compensation. For people in this area, if you press them so hard, they will just bring out some money and they will insist they can pay more. And some of these women, they can just take anything and have it and let it go. So the committee has not done what it should do in preventing occurrence. And I prepared some solution. I told them what to do to prevent such kind of attacks and the consistency at which it is happening. But it's not for me. I only suggested what to do. But it's not for me to push for the implementation. So for me, the committee has not necessarily solved the problem. But they just they've tried anyway to see how much they can resolve issues. But these people's mindset is different from our own mindset.
Wow. And this is not the first experience that you're having with them. You have been having issues with them in the past.
Yes, this is exactly 8 years I've been in commercial agriculture, and there's no year that comes I don't have issue with them. Let me just tell you, just like this year, the year is just beginning. We're just about to start planting right now. I moved tractor into my farm some 2 months ago, and I used tractor to tractor the entire farm. Cleared my farm, used the tractor to work on it. The whole place is clean and clear, and waiting for the rains to come out to set in proper so we can start planting. As soon as I left the farm for like 2-3 weeks, the fresh grasses that are growing from the farm, these guys moved all their cattle into the same farm, to graze on the grasses.
Wow.
Now, this same farm where we moved tractors and we worked with tractors for weeks, we paid for those services. They have used their cattle to rammer the farm again. So the land is not looking as if you had tilled the land. These are part of the challenges. Now they don't understand that tilling of the ground is part of the process of preparing the land.
Yes.
And as cattle are trampling the land, they are making it hard again for crops to even germinate. So right now I'm looking at how do I move a tractor into the same farm again to still part of the places that they have trampled on, and the rains are already heavy down here. So even moving a tractor into the farm will be another difficult thing. So these are part of the issues we as farmers face. That these guys will leave other thick forests and bushes where there are no farming activities. They move into the areas where we farm. So even this year I've had issues affecting my farm just by having them move into an empty land without much grass. Just those fresh little grasses that are coming forward that they want to graze on. They move their cattle in hundreds and they keep trampling the ground, and the work you have done as if you've not done anything. So these are part of the challenges that we have, working with these people, having them around our farm area. To make the matters worse, their elite are not seeing anything wrong with all of this. They are not speaking against it. They are not speaking about it. They are not confronting them with the truth. In fact, they have sympathy for them most times. So for them, anything they do in the while rearing their cattle, it is acceptable. Go and do whatever you want to do. Find a way to defend you and to protect your interests. That's all they want to do. Whilst others are suffering, the average farmer is suffering and lamenting his or her losses. They are rejoicing and enjoying, and their elite are sponsoring or defending them in whatever they do.
Wow. Let's talk about this elite thing, because I don't believe that these herders are the owners of these cows. I mean, we have the people who are their backers. We have significant amount of persons who are even in government, who are big men, because it's a multi-millionaire business. One cow isn't going for anything less than 750,000, and I don't expect those people who are the ones carrying sticks to be the owners of those cows. Do you think that we may have been terribly looking in the wrong direction as to the causes of these issues? Because if we are able to identify the owners of these cows and make them, do ranches, we would have, solved the problem. Do you think?
Okay. For the number of years I've been in this industry and living my life in the rural areas, I've taken my time to not just farm, but to also study, to know the actual challenges of this issue. And I'm putting together a robust document that will highlight the root cause of the insecurity we have in the southeast and in Nigeria. And from that document, I want to share a little bit of the answer to this question. First of all, I agree with you that some of our elites, they have cattle, they have cows. But the truth is that the majority of the cows you see moving around are owned by Fulani. You'll be surprised that an unassuming Fulani man owns over 1,000 cattle. This is their trade. They inherit some of these cattle from their fathers. So they have a track record of this business for quite a while. Even though our people now own few of those cattle, sometimes they attach the cattle with them. That one is true. And of course, such people who are enlightened can begin to set up ranches, show an example of how these things are done in the modern day. So that's being said. But the real thing is that majority of these cattle and cows you see all around our forests are actually owned by Fulani people, the northern Fulani people. Some of them you won't believe they own them. If you see them, you'll be shocked, because I've had encounter with them physically. I've had to meet with them. You find out that this person owns those cattle in their hundreds. He will tell you that these cattle were given to him by his great grandfather. His father passed it on to him. The same way we own land in the eastern region and we share our land among our sons. That same way they share their cattle among their sons, and it becomes their inheritance. So that's one thing that we need to know. Then the second aspect is that the Fulani people we used to know back in the 80s that live in our forest, in our bushes, that look so innocent and so uncivilized, they are no longer the same Fulani people that are now rearing cattle in our forest. Those ones we used to know are now a little bit enlightened. They now send their sons and daughters to schools like we do. They now live in the urban areas or semi-urban areas and training their children to go to school like we do. What they now do is to hire people like apprentices. They hire Fulani people like apprentices, and sometimes these Fulani people that they hire are coming from all the way from Chad, all the way from Niger, some from all northern areas. I want to also let you know from the little experience I've had, there is serious human trafficking also happening among the Fulani people. So you see a little boy of 12 years, 13 years, 14 years in the southeastern region moving cows in the forest. And you think he's just a normal Fulani boy. No, that little child been trafficked from Niger, from Chad, and from far away north down to the southeast. There are lots of Fulani children that have been trafficked and brought down this way, and they are compelled to now begin to rear cattle for their masters, while their masters and their masters' children are living, good life. These are part of the challenges I've also realized. Working here, I realized that there is more to this. Now, there is another aspect, another angle that I've also discovered, that the average bandits, some of the bandits that have been displaced in the northeast and north central and the far northern areas have found their ways into the eastern region, trying to run away from either the military invasions and all of that. Some of the repentant Boko Haram guys have found their ways into the southeast, and the immediate thing that they can do is to just find a work, a job for themselves, and they get jobs, they get employed by Fulani cattle owners as rearers now. So they get employed and get paid monthly. Now these guys find their way into our forest. They use that to study the entire terrain. Some of the fierce ones regroup to form armed bandits. So the banditry you see in the southeast, the kidnappings you see in the southeast, that's happening, that's being carried out by Fulani people. They are the sect that have migrated from the north as bandits, as terrorists, who come here to regroup, use that trade of rearing their cattle to understudy our whole environment and begin to carry out serious crime in our area, including kidnapping. So I've seen this anatomy of this whole thing. I discovered that it is not something we look. It's no longer the way we used to see it or the way we used to know it. That's why our government needs to begin to wake up to create solution for this, because it's getting worse. Today, it is Benue State that is suffering from serious attack in a community. It will infiltrate into other regions in the southeast if we don't see these things now and begin to tackle it. So these are the issues I've discovered while working, and I realized that this is deeper than we see it at the surface level. And that's why insecurity has increased, or is increasing by the day in the southeast, because they are regrouping and they are studying our terrain. They surely leave their rearing business. They now move into kidnapping where they make so much money from it. So this is exactly the challenge that we face, in this regard, and this is the actual challenge, actual problem that is facing this whole thing. That government needs to wake up to this responsibility. Our people also need to know that now it is no longer the kind of Fulani herdsmen that we used to know. It is now a terror thing. That's why they can come boldly to confront you, even in your farm, because it is no longer about just grazing. It's about terrorism. If not so, how will you explain that people will bring their cattle into your farm and they want to graze by force? You don't allow them to graze, they can fight you. That is terrorism.
So, but with what you have said, do you think there's a sinister move? Do you think there's a grand plan? Because every now and then, this narrative keeps popping up that there's a grand plan by the Fulani people, to grab land, to get people off their ancestral lands and occupy those places, and by extension conquer the area. So many persons have alluded to what happened in far north, and they might want to replicate same for the west, and of course for the south. Many persons have also been confronted by the narrative that these Fulani guys earlier were quite friendly just before Buhari took over office. There was quite friendly people who really have no problems. We didn't have those clashes, before Buhari took over office. So you wonder really, at what point did they change? At what point did we have a situation where we no longer want them, or maybe we don't trust them anymore? At what point did it now become a terror group?
Okay, the possibility of them trying to take over communities like alluded is there. The possibility is there. I can't really say if it is totally true or false, but there is that possibility. The reason I say there is that possibility is because sometimes in engaging them, you find them say, I don't know any other place. I was born and brought up in this Abani, for example, and this is where I know. I don't know any other place. My father gave it to me here. 1980 something. I've been living here. These are all the things we hear them say sometimes. So it is possible that they have that mindset. They want to, dominate these people and take over their land and all of that. There's that possibility. Now, but the question now is, how are we allowing that to now also happen? So there is that constitutionally there is that freedom of living. You are free to live anywhere in Nigeria as far as you're in Nigeria. So I don't want to push that so hard. However, are we now going to allow that to happen? Are we going to allow them seeing what they are doing in some certain places? Are we going to allow that to happen to us? I just give an example now that their elite have sympathy for them. Number one, that means if they do anything, any evil, if they commit any crime, they don't discourage that. They don't talk about it in a negative manner. Number two, I also mentioned that they now bring in people who were not originally part of them. They now hire laborers, Fulani laborers now. Majority of the people moving the cattle in the forest are not the real owners of the cattle, because the real owners no longer want to live in the forest. They now want to live in the city center, and now they now bring in these people who now live in the forest, and most of these people are criminal elements, like I mentioned, who have escaped some terror, military invasions. Some of them are teenage children who have been trafficked. Now, with the support of their elite and the backing of the cattle owners, who will also encourage them to do everything possible to let the cattle graze, and whatever happens, they are willing and ready to back them up and fight for them, and not willing to bring them out, like the case of what happened to me in December. The owners of the cattle came, they are not willing to bring the boys who are working for them out. They will say they don't even know them, they just employ them, that if anything happened anywhere now, they can't even find, they don't even know where to find them. So how do you employ somebody you don't know? If he commits a crime, you don't even know where to find him, you can't even lay hands on him. So these are some of the things we discovered. And of course, some of these people that we talk about, they don't even understand the simple come in English language. They call Fulani guys that have lived with us for quite a while. They understand our language, even the Igbo language. They can speak language that we speak. But these guys that come from the core north that have been moved into our areas don't even understand come. Don't even understand, any part of our language. That's why these are some of the things I also discovered that made me come to the conclusion that these guys are brought in to probably cause some of this harm. So it is possible that in all of this there is a grand plan to take over communities. It is possible that in all of this there is a design that they are working on, probably that will manifest in the next 10, 20 years to come. But my challenge is now, are we going to allow it to still happen? Will we have this at the mind? Are we going to have this at the back of our mind and not do anything to checkmate it? That is where the challenge is. We need to wake up and see to it that these things, if for instance, there is a grand plan, and this grand plan does not work, like doing something that we need to do today, stop it.
All right. What for you would be an ideal solution to solve this problem? How do you think that the government should go about it? Because if you look at what is even going on in Benue and Plateau, it's almost seems as if the governors and even the president are helpless. The governor comes out tomorrow, releases statements. The following day, another one happens. Plateau State governor went there and was crying. And then it almost looks as if there's practically nothing that the government can really do. Like, do you think there's some sort of complicitness with what is going on?
Charles, the truth is that I've been a farmer for quite a while, and I know the pain, the pain of an average farmer who loses his property, his crops, and the worst part is those who lose their lives. And if you look at, like you rightly said, the body language of our leaders, you're wondering if they really understand the pains of people who face the challenges. Now, coming to the solution, the solutions are there. Let me give you one practical example. The Southeast region needs to come together. It's not about Enugu State alone, for instance. The entire Southeast leaders need to come together to see that this is a common challenge that we need to begin to put our heads together to see how we can begin to resolve. That's one basic thing that must come. We must come to the realization that we need to do this together. Enugu State, Anambra State, Abia State, Igbo State, Ebonyi State, every state around this region, they need to come together and begin to develop a robust security framework that will cut across these states. That means if I'm doing it in Enugu State, we are doing the same thing in Ebonyi State, we are doing the same thing in other states in the Southeast. So what we are doing collectively, we now push them, push them far away from us. That means if Enugu State is doing the same thing, if Enugu State is carrying out a particular strategy, and they have a landing place in Ebonyi State, it will continue in Ebonyi State. That's one. Number two, we need to begin to look into how to resolve this matter using three major areas. The use of technology will come to play. Nigeria is not the only place where we have to realize. I've proposed some of the solutions to the government of the Southeast. I've written some documents. I'm saying this with due respect. I've written some documents that I titled Agricultural Development in the Southeast region. And I gave some of the solutions. There is a technological solution to this problem. They are very, very effective. And let me give you an example of this solution. There are areas, for instance, if government decide that we want to cordon off a particular area from allowing cattle to graze, there are electronic gadgets that can be installed there. They repel these animals without people hitting their head on the floor. The government begins to invest the needed money technologically to protect our farming community. Cattle will not cross some boundaries simply because some gadgets were installed there. And these gadgets are not cheap. So I may not be able to install them in my farm. But government can begin to invest on such kind of equipment. They are installed on something that looks like a mask. And they emit radioactive rays that is not harmful to the human body, but it is repellent to animals. Can we begin to install these things across our border areas where cattle have caused issues? That's one. That's another solution. And that solution that is very, very important is that we need to begin to come up with infrastructure solutions. The farm where I am now, Charles, the place where I am sitting down to make this call, if I have an emergency that I need to leave here, I can't leave here and get to the nearest motorable way in 1 hour time. So that means there are no road networks around this area. There are no accessible roads. Can our government begin to create accessible infrastructure, create infrastructure into all those areas that will make it easy for people to move around? So if you have any challenge, you can find a way to move around. For example, that the last year we had issues with the Fulani guys around here. If we had access road down to the farm location, it's easy for somebody to move out from the farm with a bike, go to the police station and bring the police right into the farm. So government needs to begin to do real infrastructural development of our rural communities. Then the other aspect that is quite important is at the policy level. Government needs to begin to look into what policies we put in place that will begin to punish defaulters, that will create commensurate punishment and compensation for those for the cattle owners or the herders who attack farms, destroy properties, or kill people. We need to begin to set up serious policies and implement them. Then we need to also develop a security apparatus or architecture. Community policing must be effectively empowered so that people can have, powers or rights to protect their communities, not trying to attack headers this time around. No, but create a protection around their communities such that they have right to protect their communities from these people attacking their farms. So the solution to this problem is possible. The willpower, the desire to really carry it out is the problem we have.
It's interesting. I mean, this particular perspective that you have in terms of installing some digital equipment to prevent. How does it work? Can it work in Nigeria? I mean, we've seen these certain things work abroad, and in Nigeria it doesn't work. Like, do you think it can work in Nigeria?
I don't just think it can work. I know it will work. It will work. Why won't it work? If the governor, for instance, of Enugu State, who has installed a lot of cameras in the city center, decide to start installing some of these gadgets in the rural area, don't you think it will work? An average farmer will be part of those that will protect that infrastructure if it's set up. So the point is not if it will work. It will definitely work. Will then begin to see that as the solution to this and begin to invest in that regard? Will they be afraid of what the northern elite, the Fulani northern elite will say and do? Will they be more interested in their returning to power than doing what they need to? Because sometimes they believe that if you open the northern elite, they can work against you and you'll be re-elected and all of that. Can we find a leader who's not interested in re-election, but interested in delivering his people from the hands of their this? Okay, imagine if these kind of things we are installed in Benue State, for instance. These same communities that had this attack, if they have such gadgets, including CCTV cameras that is installed in those areas, the people that committed this crime will be fished out like very difficult. So is it not easier that government invest such kind of equipment in these areas, save the people from their losses, including the loss of life, and create protection around them? Also scare an average terrorist, knowing that there are gadgets that can discover you from wherever you're coming from and that can help trace you. I mean, it's easier to solve that way. The challenge is, will they consider it? Will they look into it as a solution that they need to invest money? It is capital intensive, of course, to get such kind of things developed. But it is possible and it's doable.
Wow. Just like you have mentioned, would they be able to? Not that would they be able to. It's nearly impossible to do, because not because they don't have the resources, but because they don't have the will to. But I'm just asking, really. I mean, if you look at other countries that produce beef, that also rear cattle. In fact, Ghana here, that is our neighbor. I'm not sure we have cows roaming from one place to another in Ghana. Like, do you think we're a peculiar country? We're a peculiar nation. Oh, why hasn't it been a national policy for cattle to be ranched? Why should we be moving with cows in 2025? Because it's just not adding up. Successive government will come and tell you several stories. The last administration will tell you, well, some people will say it is their brother that is the reason why he will never take action, and he was even saying that we should create grazing routes. Go back to grazing routes and create grazing route for these people. And now we have somebody who is not a Fulani, and still we still have these issues. It's like, do you think there's a sinister plan apart from this normal quagmire that comes between farmers and herders? Do you think there's another plan of annihilating or cleansing a people?
Like I rightly said earlier on, you can't take away the fact that there is that possibility for a sinister plan. There is that possibility of an underlying motive for all that they are doing. There is that possibility. There is that possibility. But the issue that, are we going to allow, if assuming there is that kind of possibility, are we going to allow it to happen? I've traveled a bit within the African countries. I've been to Kenya, I've been to Uganda, I've seen them, ranch. I went to a conference in Uganda and I was talking about herders grazing in the farms, and they are looking at me like, not even understand what I mean. That people will move their cattle, and they don't understand it. I'm telling you, in Uganda, they don't understand it. I was talking to a Fulani person in Uganda, a Ugandan Fulani man, who is also the minister, the minister of tourism in that country. He doesn't understand that idea of grazing. He told me their stories, how those days they used to move their cattle and graze, but it's no longer that way. So, is it possible to ranch? It is possible to ranch. There are ranches across African continents. The reason Nigeria's case is different is what I can't really explain. Is it that our leaders are not? I don't know why we won't make it a law and enforce it. So if one says there is a sinister plan, probably yes, there is. If someone says they are doing it because they want to take over people's ancestral home, probably that it is possible. Looking at what they are doing, because I don't see the reason why in this century we are talking about open grazing. We are talking about grazing routes. And if one says that Buhari, because the former president is their brother, what about now? I mean, even if their own person is the president, should that become the reason they should not do the wrong thing? Can't we begin to make improvements? Do you know that just that grasses for cattle is also businesses that people do in some of these countries. Like in Uganda, for instance, there are farmers whose work is to plant grasses for cattle rearers, and they buy the grass. There are improved. The same way we have improved seeds and improved crops for our there are improved grasses for animal rearing. It's an opportunity also to empower more young persons to get into agriculture, to get into animal husbandry too. So we need to see this. Our leaders need to see this beyond now. We need to see 10 years from now, 20 years from now, 50 years from now. What are we building today? What will it amount to in the next 20 years? That is the point. So it baffles me how we keep on talking about this and nothing happens. We keep on talking about this, we keep on complaining, we keep on seeing these challenges and nothing happens. Can government begin to take responsibility? Can our elders begin to speak out about it and do the needful so that we can stop this madness?
For you, I mean, I'm sure you're also in contact with other farmers. Do they express this kind of fear about going to the farm? Do you think that the activities of these herdsmen have become inimical to the growth of the farmland? Because what we now see is a lot of people who even farm in the villages have stopped going to the farm for fear that they'll be attacked by herdsmen. Do you think there's a significant number of people who have decided to leave the farmlands just because they are scared that they might be attacked?
Yes. The truth is that the challenges of Fulani harassment has deterred a lot of people from going to the farm. In fact, in my Abu farm location now, one of my colleagues stopped coming to the farm. He didn't come to the farm this year. He's one of the major farmers also we have here.
Wow.
Because of what happened last year, he didn't come at all. He cultivates over 10 hectares, and this year he refused to go. I called him, he said he's not going to come. He's not going to come back again. Yes, he's lost so much already. He keeps taking loans, and by the end of the farming season, he's unable to pay back the loan. And
wow,
he has to stop. A lot of young persons who have interest in agriculture are not getting involved because of these challenges. I also know somebody who I mentored for a while, and he began after a year. He stopped. Now, imagine what happened in Benue recently. A lot of farmers will not go back to farm this year. A lot of farmers in that area will not go back to work. The same thing that happened in Jos. A lot of people in Jos will not go to farm. There are so many people, even in the southeast today, even in Enugu State today, that are so discouraged. They can't get into the farm because of what is happening. So, of course, it is creating serious challenge, serious issue. It is taking us away from the progress we have made over a period of time. I mean, we are losing grounds again. So it's an issue that has caused discouragement among those who have interest in farming.
Do you also think that there might be some international collaborators with what's going on? Because if you have these number of persons attacking farmers, do you think there's a deliberate act internationally to scuttle the food chain in Nigeria, and to what end?
Some persons.
Sorry, your account is too low for the destination you are trying to call. Please recharge as soon as possible or dial *303# for airtime.
Okay. We may have had a bit of an issue with that call, so maybe we'll have to dial him back almost immediately so that we can continue the conversation this day. Let's see if we can reconnect with him. And the stories are actually real, man. These stories are actually real, and they're terrible stories. Let's see if we can connect back to him as soon as possible so we can have the last part of the discussions done. All right, this is Cheesy Media. Appreciate every one of you who have joined in. on the show this afternoon.
Dear customer, the MTN number you will...
So because he is in the farm, I can imagine how difficult it is to get across to him. But then I would see if I can reconnect with the number that he had sent earlier. If we cannot get across to this particular number that he gave, but it's just it's just terrible. Tell me what you think, though. Give me an insight into what your thought is regarding this development as it relates to farmers headers clash, and he has given his own harrowing experience.
The MTN
I'm hoping that in due course we're going to reconnect back to him for the final lap of this discussion. It's really a disturbing trend. We have seen over time how difficult it is for people to go to farm this period. I mean, I can only imagine. I can only imagine if you are a superhuman to think that if you're a farmer at this time in Nigeria, you don't mind what's going on. You will be a superhuman being to basically think that way. But the way it is, I'm afraid that a whole lot of persons who might, in so many ways, refuse to go to the farms. Ekene, thank you so much for joining back. I appreciate. All right. So you were saying something earlier. We're talking about in some sort of international collaborations regarding this. Can you finish your thoughts on that line?
Yes, I said some may think that way, but personally, I don't think so. I don't think there's any international collaboration to control our food production in this region. I don't think so personally. And I say that with some sense of sincerity, because I believe for what reason will that person collaborate? Except if the person is I don't know who the person is working with. So I don't believe that there is any international collaboration that is pushing this. I just feel that there are people who in our own nation who are Nigerians who also believe they are untouchable. They believe that they own the nation, they can do anything, and they have sympathy for these sort of people. And I have had times I discussed with some early who are from the north, not early. I have a lot of them working with me who are also farmers, and I see they have sympathy. I talk about sympathy now. Have sympathy for their people. An example is that there are some, I don't want to mention names anyway, some elites when we discuss the issue of the hunters that were killed in Edo some time ago. I saw their position, how bad they felt. When I talk about their cattle grazing in our farm, or about my farm being burnt down by Fulani people, I wouldn't see the same level of sympathy they had for their people. Or when you hear that somebody's cow was killed by a farmer in any community, for instance, you see how they feel so aggrieved. Why would you go and kill their cow? When you think about that their people kill somebody, a farmer in the farm, they will also be having sympathy for them. Why would they kill the person when they will be attacking them and pursuing them, their cattle? Even if their cattle grazing somebody's farm, they will pay. So I don't think that there's any international collaboration. I only feel that there is attitude among these people. There is this cultural belief that has helped that has encouraged them to do what they're doing. And we need to fight that cultural belief using every legal means possible, as far as very our constitution to stop that. So let's not push blame on an international body. Let us take the responsibility for
Okay. So what happens now? I mean, we've heard the federal government say some things like they are doing forest guard, trying to get in forest guards to solve some of the problems. So the forest guards, their modus operandi would be clearly to ward off some of these threats by headsmen. Do you think that's in any way possible that could help?
I would say I think it will help or not help. It depends on 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 some factors. For instance, has similar
Okay, it's difficult to really hear you on this particular line. So
okay,
let me see if I can let me see if I can redial you with another line.
okay, okay, I'm waiting.
Okay, I'm redialing right away because this particular line, I don't know why it's not really pouring up just as good as the one that we used earlier, but I'm sure that this one would reconnect fast enough. Can I?
Yeah, hello.
Okay, so this is far clearer now.
All right.
Yeah.
So,
So
like I was saying, I wouldn't conclude if that will help or will not help, depending on the framework with which they are going to work, and depending on the kind of powers that will be given to them, the kind of people that will be recruited and trained, to do the job. In which they, for instance, had something that like that in the past, the forest guard,
mm,
and I wouldn't. Okay, I don't know how much that is helping now. When they began, there was a little bit of uh, of of energy, but I mean, today I don't think it's functioning that way again. So if government is looking into setting up a security apparatus that will begin to look in, that will begin to safeguard the forest and see to it that such kind of challenge of Fulani headers and farmers are taken care of, that will be fine. But they must create, the needed laws and empowerment, allow them to function, you know, very properly. You should also be able to create uh, uh, a way of prosecuting defaulters. Part of what we also encourage that kind of apparatus to work effectively, that when they're able to get people who have defaulted, who have caused crime, and those people are punished for what they have done, it also encourages the work and probably the people they also employ. So it is neither here nor there. If they do it with a sincerity of heart, not just political thing, trying to create a feeling that the government is doing something. If they are going to do it sincerely, because they want to find a solution to it, and they put in everything, bring in every strategy, get everybody who is a stakeholder to get involved, to think out how best to get this resolved, then get it done. But if it's just setting up for a political reason, just to appease the people and create an impression, then it will not work.
wow. A whole lot of things have been said around these issues. I mean, there isn't anybody who hasn't really spoken about the way and manner that these people are being dealt with. Some persons have said having a state police, or each state controlling its own police, because some of the things again that we've said severally is the fact that the police, the governors are not able to command the police in their states to the extent of how they would like the security apparatus to look like. For instance, I mean, the governor cannot really command the commissioner of police or even command the command of army in his state, except there is some sort of clarity or some approval coming from Abuja. So we are more or less practicing the unitary system of government, and that really doesn't work in terms of local security. Do you think that tweaking that's chain of command can actually help in that regard?
Yes, very true. If we begin to set up a decentralized police system, it will go a long way. I believe so much that if we need to have state police whose duty is to focus on the state, controlled by the state government and the state apparatus, empower them by law to carry out some of this security work, it will go a long way in solving the problem. It will. And that's why part of the challenge is that people are posted from, for instance, from the north, who have become the DPO of a police station somewhere in the east, without understanding the terrain, not having any interest in the area, no investment, and these are some of the challenges we have. But if the states are allowed to set up their policing system, it will go a long way in creating this solution we need in this regard. So it is something that will not just advocate for, something that we all continue to talk about and encourage and allow government to get to the point where they allow state policing system to come into play. It will go a long way in solving this problem.
All right. Again, I really want to appreciate you for your time on the program. You're really giving us a deep insight into the development. I mean, it does even look like these issues are a continuous issue. It's not something that we speak about today and government takes action and then it's solved. I don't know why the government is taking so much time for the government to take action regarding these issues. I don't know. Things that are basically for the masses, things that would be better off for the greater good of the people are not really spoken about, are not being addressed. But when it is about the salaries of top government officials or adjustment of ESTA codes for government officials or travel allowances, you see that it's quick and it is quick to approval. So I wonder, even the so-called forest guard that they say that they're going to employ, up until this moment, it was just something that was mouthed. There has not been any move in that direction as to who and who is recruiting and who is not recruiting. Again, it's fall back on, just like you said, the will of the government of the day to do the needful. It's not like they don't have the resources to do that, but they just don't want to do it. Then it brings to fore again whether our government, giving that the reason for government is for the protection of lives and property. You see other governments in other climes resign when they're unable to do something, when they have refused to do something, or even unable. But in this climb, somebody is incompetent. It's seen as incompetent. Show that he is incompetent, and he still remains in position. The president went to Benue State and was asking his police IG, how come nobody has been arrested up until that moment that he was even speaking? So to tell you that maybe the president don't even have a clue of what's going on. What do you think? Okay, we may have lost the connection there with the connect, but let me see if I can reconnect with him on a final note. I'm sure that he will probably be looking to go back to his farm to finish off. Ekene, are you there?
I can hear you, yeah.
Okay, maybe it's about time for you to go, because I'm sure that you are looking to go back. I'm sure it's past your break time. So, yeah. but just on a final note, really, I hope you heard what I said earlier.
Yeah, you said about the president not even knowing what's happening. He was asking the IG up until then, nobody had been arrested.
Right. So I was just saying that how important is it for people who are in power to be held accountable, especially those who we call the police chiefs, the ones even in Benue State, the commissioners of police, the commander of the army over there. Like, do you think that this guy should be asked to resign their position since these attacks have continued unabated?
The natural thing to do is to resign your position when you have failed to carry out your responsibility and your duty, and when you are unable to, to give, a clear indication that you can handle such kind of your issues. It is the natural thing to do, to resign and leave the office. I mean, just like what the question the president asked. Can you imagine the level of crime that happened in Benue State? The number of people that were killed, the number of people that were burned to ashes, and there are no arrests. These guys did not come to do that thing within 1 hour. They spent the whole night, and the entire area, no security presence. Nobody was arrested. Nobody, they couldn't trace this attack to anybody. I mean, somebody should lose his job or her job for that kind of thing. I'm telling you, it's not just Benue State. Every other place that's happened in Nigeria, people should be able to lose their job. Somebody who is in charge of security should be able to lose. Look, imagine you employ a security person in your house, and somebody came into your house to steal. Will you allow the person to continue to work for you?
Of course not.
So how do we now begin to allow people who are incompetent to continue to stay there? For us, leadership for our people is not responsibility. It's an opportunity to make money for themselves, and nothing happens without making the impact there. That's why people will get into office and all they make is more money for themselves and not delivering anything, any difference. So what makes you, after spending a number of years in an office, the place is the same, no improvement, nothing changed, no additional value added. So for me, people like that should be sacked, and somebody who can deliver should be brought to place. But unfortunately, also, you can even find out that somebody may assume a certain position, and he will not be allowed to do some certain things because he's trying to do things differently. We've seen situations where a new officer, senior ranking officer, emerges. I don't want to mention any name, and somehow something will happen. Either a plane will crash and the person will die. And you can now start tracing it down to say the person is coming up with a different approach to address issues. Somehow, somebody will attack the team of people, and the person will be killed. And you can be hearing side talks that the person is coming up with a different approach to handling issues, and is becoming a threat. So you also see that some of our leaders also are benefiting from some of these things that are happening, and it becomes what fuels their desire not to take immediate action. But we must come to the place where we decide that we don't have any other nation except one. We don't have any other community except one we are living in. We don't have any other place to go to. If we go somewhere else, we will come back to meet for this thing, or begin to do the right thing. Not for our own sake alone, but for the sake of the posterity that we want to see.
Mr. Kene, many thanks for your time. Really, I really appreciate your insights on the program. We hope that some of these communications would get to the ears of those who are in position to take action. We want to appreciate you, and we want to also salute your commitment. I mean, some time I spoke to you, and you expressed how difficult it is, and you even told me that, well, it's just that, you are who you are. If you are any other person, you might have just stopped even doing this farming thing, but you have continued even in the face of provocation. And I really salute your courage, really. I really salute it, and I hope that the government matches this courage that you have, with, enormous support. I appreciate you a whole lot. All right, so let me leave you now so that you can attend to your farm, but we'll keep discussing this matter. Thank you again. All right, and you too. Thank you. All right, Kede Uzodimma telling us his experience in the farm. He's a commercial farmer, and I love what he does. I patronize him a lot. He's into rice farming, a huge rice farm that he has in Enugu and different places. And his rice is actually very, very fantastic. He's just someone who wants a better Nigeria, and he's not going to do that by just folding his hands, getting into farming. And it's so unfortunate, what has happened, what has befallen us. I hope that the government does something, and does something quickly, in order to resolve these issues. I want to say a very big thank you to every one of you for tuning in. I appreciate. I'll see you on the next one. God bless. See you later.